When my sister stole my idea and took credit for my hard work, I confronted her. She told me I was just jealous and kicked me out of the house. "You'll never achieve anything on your own," she said. As I left, my blood boiled. But what she didn't know was that I was about to watch her lose everything she thought she had worked for. I don't even know how to start this without getting sick to my stomach. I've never written about this before, but it's been eating away at me for years. I lost everything: my job, my savings, my home, and the person who caused it all was someone I used to trust more than anyone, my sister. I'm 32 now. This happened when I was 27, and it still feels fresh. At the time, I was living in Sacramento. I had a small one-bedroom apartment I could barely afford, working long shifts at a grocery store. It wasn't glamorous, but I was stable. And every night, after my shift, I'd come home, make some cheap dinner, and then throw myself into this project I had been dreaming about for years. It was an app, a community-based platform for women dealing with burnout, work-life balance, toxic families, single parenting, anxiety, all of it. It wasn't about selling products or pushing fake self-care tips. It was real. I wanted it to be a place where women could talk honestly and get real support. I worked on it for almost 2 years, building it from scratch, piece by piece. It was slow. I didn't have money or backing or even a real team. Just my laptop and this fire inside me that wouldn't go away. Tasha, my older sister, came back into my life right around then. She had just gone through a divorce. Her husband, a lawyer in San Diego, left her for someone 10 years younger. She came back home looking defeated, and I did what I always did. I took care of her. She asked if she could crash with me for a couple of months, just until she figured things out. I didn't hesitate. I told her she could stay as long as she needed. At first, it was fine. She was quieter than usual, humbled even. We had late-night talks, and for the first time in years, it felt like we were bonding again. She saw me working on the app and seemed genuinely interested. She'd sit next to me, ask questions, even offer suggestions. I thought it was sisterly support. I told her about the name I'd picked, the features I wanted, the user layout, the content sections, everything. I trusted her. When I lost my job due to downsizing, she stepped up and offered to help with rent for a while. I was ashamed, but grateful. That's when the tone started to shift. Little things. She'd make passive comments like, "Must be nice to play entrepreneur all day." Or, "I guess I'm the only one keeping us afloat now." I tried to ignore it. I didn't want to fight. I told myself she was just going through her own stuff. What I didn't realize was that during that time, she was quietly collecting everything I told her. My pitch decks, my drafts, even my prototype screens. I had no idea she was planning to take it all. Then, one morning, I was scrolling through LinkedIn and saw a post that made my heart stop. Tasha had launched a company. Not just any company, my company. My idea. My name. My exact concept. It was all there. Same mission. Same structure. Same freaking screenshots. Only now they were rebranded with her name, her face, her quotes. She even used parts of my write-ups word for word. She launched it like she had built it from scratch. I remember sitting there frozen. I clicked through every page of the website. It was like watching someone walk around wearing your skin. She didn't even try to change that much. She had just cleaned it up, added some slick branding, and slapped her name all over it. I confronted her that night. I was shaking so hard I could barely speak. I asked her, straight up, "Why would you do this? This was my work." She looked me dead in the eye and said, "You had a concept. I made it real." I told her it was theft. She smirked and said, "You're just jealous I could do what you couldn't." Then she added, "Let's be honest. You weren't going anywhere with it. You don't have the network, the charisma, or the money."
Idag.
We argued for over an hour. She got louder, crueler. She told me I was pathetic, that I had no follow-through, that I was just playing pretend. And then she said it, the thing that burned itself into my brain. "You'll never achieve anything on your own." Then she kicked me out, told me to pack my things and leave. My apartment. I had let her stay there rent-free for 3 months when she had nowhere to go. And now she was shoving me out the door with nothing but 2 garbage bags and a cracked phone. I couch-hopped for weeks after that. I was broken, humiliated. My name wasn't anywhere on that company. I had no proof, nothing in writing, nothing official. I was just a ghost. But then something happened. I started to get angry. Not in a petty way, but in a focused, sharpened way. I knew her. I knew how she operated. She could build hype, sure, but she didn't have staying power. She didn't know the users like I did. She didn't care about them. She was about buzz and image, not substance. So I started working again. Quietly, this time. I rebuilt what I could. I reached out to the people I'd spoken to before, some of the developers I'd emailed. I started gathering proof. And I started watching her. Closely. Because while she thought I was down and gone, I was actually just getting started. The first few months after Tasha stole my app were the hardest I've ever lived through. I was sleeping on an air mattress in my friend's tiny guest room in Elk Grove. Every day, I woke up with that sick feeling in my chest. The kind that makes you feel hollow before your feet even hit the floor. Meanwhile, Tasha was blowing up. Her launch had gone viral. She got featured in a few women in tech blogs. She posted constantly videos of her journey, inspirational quotes that sounded eerily familiar, updates about securing funding. I watched as she sat on podcasts and panels talking about the moment she came up with the idea. She told stories, my stories, like they belonged to her. I even heard her repeat a line I had written months earlier in my mission statement, almost word for word. And I stayed quiet, because no one would believe me. There were no contracts, no patents, no emails proving authorship. I was just the sister who didn't follow through. But I kept building. I couldn't let it go. I took every dollar I had left and got a cheap refurbished laptop. I started coding again, rebuilding my original layout from memory. I reached out to some of the developers and designers I'd spoken to before. A few remembered me. One of them, Jordan, still had a copy of our old email chain, including the prototype I had sent before Tasha ever moved in with me. That changed everything. I finally had a digital timestamp that predated her launch by almost a year. At the same time, I started hearing from other people in her orbit, quietly at first. One former intern messaged me on Instagram, asking if I had ever worked with Tasha before. When I said she was my sister, the girl hesitated, then said, "That explains a lot." Turns out, Tasha had burned through 3 assistants in less than 6 months. She was promising equity, exposure, big roles, but never following through. People were starting to notice that she wasn't quite who she claimed to be. Still, publicly, she was golden. Her site looked polished. Her branding was sleek. She even landed a TEDx talk. My mom sent me the link like it was some big family win. I couldn't even bring myself to open it. When I tried to talk to my parents about what had really happened, they shut me down. "You two just need to talk it out," my dad said. "Tasha's worked so hard. You should be proud." My mom told me, "Well, if you really built it first, why didn't you launch it?" That broke something in me. I realized I had to stop trying to get anyone to believe me and just focus on what I could control. So, I filed for a provisional patent. I scraped together the money, used the prototype timestamp Jordan had saved, and filed my original concept, down to the layout, the name, and the unique peer support feature that had been the core of my design. I did it quietly. No fanfare. And then I started my own version again, this time under a new name. I launched small. Just a simple version with a few key features. I didn't use social media. I didn't push for followers. I just let it grow. Word spread slowly through forums, private Facebook groups, word of mouth. The kind of women I built it for started showing up, talking, sharing, giving real feedback. And while my little community grew, Tasha's empire started to rot from the inside. I didn't gloat. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't post anything. But I watched everything closely. Because when someone builds their success on a lie, it doesn't take much to pull the first thread. And I had just started tugging. A few months into quietly rebuilding my platform, something strange happened. I got an email from a journalist. She wrote for a mid-sized tech blog and said she had been researching the rise of women-led wellness startups. She stumbled across both platforms, Tasha's and mine, and noticed some striking similarities. She asked if I'd be open to a conversation. At first, I ignored it. I didn't trust anyone in that space. But she was persistent and professional. After a few days, I agreed to a call. I didn't say much, just that I had built something similar a year earlier and never launched. I sent her the dated prototype and the provisional patent filing. She thanked me and said she wouldn't write anything without confirming details on her own. I didn't think much of it. But then 2 weeks later, Tasha's name was trending for the wrong reasons. The article dropped on a Thursday morning. The sister startup scandal. Did one founder's rise come from another woman's work? It wasn't an expose, not exactly. But it laid everything out. The dates, the designs, the overlapping features. The journalist had done her homework. She didn't outright accuse Tasha of theft, but the timeline spoke for itself. She included side-by-side comparisons. She even quoted the intern who messaged me earlier. It was clean, factual, and devastating. Tasha posted a long rebuttal within hours. Claimed the article was biased, that jealous people were trying to tear her down. But it didn't land the way she thought it would. Her comments were full of questions. Former employees chimed in with their own bad experiences. People started picking apart her story, her resume, her sudden inspiration, even old interviews where she contradicted herself. Then came the investors. A month later, I found out through someone I used to work with that one of her main backers had pulled funding. Quietly but completely. Her development team started shrinking. Deadlines were missed. Features were buggy. Her app started getting bad reviews, not just for glitches, but for the way users were treated when they asked for help or gave feedback. But here's where the twist came in. She didn't back down. She doubled down. Tasha filed a cease and desist against me. She claimed I was infringing her intellectual property, said I had stolen her concept and created a knockoff. The letter came from some overpriced Bay Area law firm. I sat on my bed holding the envelope, feeling that old fear crawl back in. She was trying to crush me. Again. But this time, I had something I didn't before, proof. I contacted an attorney. I showed her everything. The prototype timestamps, emails, even my original Git commits. She looked it all over and told me I had a solid case. More than that, she said we could counter. So we did. I filed a formal complaint with the U.S. Patent Office, citing prior work and misappropriation of intellectual property. Then my lawyer sent her a cease and desist in return. The moment that hit, her tone changed. Fast. No more public posts. No inspiraste en el vídeos. Just silence. That's when I got the next surprise. Her assistant, her newest assistant, reached out to me anonymously. Sent me a file. Said it was internal memos and emails between Tasha and her team. It showed she had seen my old prototype. That she had based the early dev work on it. It was the smoking gun. I didn't post it. I didn't leak it. But I did send it to my lawyer. And we knew exactly what to do with it. Now I wasn't just protecting my idea. Now I had her backed into a corner. And she had no idea what was coming next. When we sent over the internal emails proving Tasha had access to my prototype and intentionally used it as the foundation for her app, things started moving fast. My attorney filed an injunction with the USPTO to stop her from using any material that matched my original design. We also prepared to pursue damages for IP theft and reputational harm. But before any of that went to court, something else happened. A reporter from a much bigger outlet, one of those national tech watchdog sites, got a hold of the first article and reached out to me. She said she wanted to do a follow-up. She was smart, thorough, and had already talked to 2 of Tasha's ex-employees. When she asked if I had anything else to share, I didn't hesitate. I gave her everything, every document, every timeline, every screenshot. I didn't need to make up a single word. The truth was enough. The second article dropped like a bomb. It wasn't just about Tasha anymore. It was about ethics in startups, women in tech being silenced by bigger personalities, and how the industry loves a glossy story more than real work. but it named her. It showed the timeline. It included the cease and desist she sent me and the one we sent back. It quoted former staff who said they were pushed to recycle material they didn't create. And then finally it included me. My name, my story, the quiet rebuild I'd been doing all along. My traffic tripled within days. Women from all over started signing up. Not because I was flashy or trending, but because they saw who was genuine. I got dozens of messages from users saying, "I wish I found this sooner," or "This actually feels like it was made for us." Then the lawsuits started hitting her. One of her former investors sued for misrepresentation. Another employee filed for unpaid wages. The podcast interviews she had done mysteriously disappeared. Her TEDx talk was taken off YouTube pending review. I didn't cheer or dance. I just watched as her empire collapsed, brick by brick. She tried to reach out to me once, sent a vague, half-hearted email. "I think we should talk. I don't want this to ruin our family." I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. As for my parents, it took them a long time to understand. At first, they were silent. But then one day, my dad called. I hadn't spoken to him in almost a year. He said, "I didn't know. I should have believed you."
I'm sorry.
That meant something, even if it came late. Now, 3 years later, my app is still running, still growing. It's not flashy or viral, but it's mine, and the people using it feel heard. That's all I ever wanted. Tasha? Last I heard, she moved out of Sacramento. Her company folded. No one wanted to touch her after the lawsuits. She burned every bridge she had. I don't wish her harm, but I do hope, for the first time in her life, she's forced to sit with who she really is. With no one left to steal from. Because I didn't just get revenge. I took back everything she thought she could take from me and proved that I was capable all along. She said I'd never achieve anything on my own. And then I did. Without her name. Without her help. Without her lies.